Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So I love decorating for the seasons, especially Christmas. Halloween is a favorite as well. I have a lot of people in my life that love Halloween and the spooky decor and stuff like that. Unfortunately, the price tag on a lot of really cool things from like Pottery Barn and some of even the Michaels decor, unless you have a coupon, is not affordable for most people. At least most people I know anyway. So I took it upon myself this season. I was going through the Pottery Barn website and I found a lot of really cool things for Halloween specifically that I decided to try my hand at duping. So in this video, I'm going to show you a few dupes for some of the items that I found that are going to make some of my friends and family very happy. Let's check it out. So the first dupe we're going to do is the Lit Ghost Cloche. The single retails for $34.50, not on sale. In order to make this, you're going to need to get yourself a plastic cloche from Dollarama. That cost me a total of $1.75. Not a bad deal at all. There's a hole in the bottom, so what I did was I put a skewer in there and hot glued it just to secure it as a base. And then I put a small styrofoam ball on top of that, just to give us the form of the ghost. The next thing I want to make sure I have on hand is some Mod Podge. We're going to have some cheesecloth that is cut to size. I cut it into a circle, just it makes the ghost look more flowy. We're also going to need our glue gun, which is our tool of choice these days. You can't go anywhere without a good glue gun to get a craft done, in my opinion, so I will link that down below for you. And you also need a set of fairy lights. I bought like 20 of them off of Temu for, I want to say, less than $10. So a set of fairy lights from Temu cost me 50 cents. So again, you want to make sure that you put that skewer in and hot glue it to the base, and same thing with the skull. Now we're going to take those fairy lights and we're going to hot glue them to the back of the base to our cloche. And that way it'll just be secured and not go anywhere, and we don't have to worry about hunting it down. It'll be right at the back. Nobody will even see it. Once that's secured on there, we just want to take the lights and we're going to just go ahead and we're going to hot glue them in place on the base. The hot glue will not affect the wire of the lights whatsoever, but it will help keep them held down once we decorate our ghoulish little guy. And then once that glue is set, we're ready to go ahead and string those lights around the base of our pumpkin, of our ghost. I am going to tape this down though, just to make sure that it is secured while we're putting the lights on. So untangle these. You're going to see in another video where we use these. Lights are not my friend. They really, really will be the bane of my existence, having to untangle them. I did forget that I had to hot glue the styrofoam ball on, so make sure you do that earlier on as well. So we're just going to put these lights, we're not going to really worry about how well they're strung, but we are going to make sure that they would go all throughout underneath the form of our ghost. And then from there, I am going to make sure that they are secured on top of the styrofoam as well. And we're going to use some hot glue to tack that down again. You want to use a low temp hot glue though, just because you don't want to be melting the styrofoam. High temp glue tends to really melt styrofoam, so just be really careful that you're keeping the shape of your ghost underneath that form. So again, hot gluing it down, it's not going to affect the lights or the wire. They will still work, no problem. And now we're going to let that set and come back and get ready to make our ghost look like a ghost. So I've got some cheesecloth. Again, I purchased this at the dollar store for another project that I was working on that you'll see a bit later on. So essentially doing mark math, this cheesecloth was free because it is left over. You gotta love good mark math. I am gonna put some tape around the base of my cloche just so I don't have to do cleanup later in case any of the Mod Podge drips onto the base. So you want to put a liberal coating of Mod Podge on there, and then just using a foam brush, I'm going to brush it all down the entire surface of our cheesecloth. I've seen people take this and put it in like a plastic bowl and pour all kinds of Mod Podge in there, soak the cheesecloth, and then wring it out. And you're struggling to get the cheesecloth flat again, in my opinion, but also you've got so much wasted Mod Podge because you are using more in a bowl than you really need. Honestly, you just need to get the surface of the cheesecloth coated so that it will dry and keep its shape and still be a little bit flowy. You don't want it to look like it's like a cast, like when you break your arm or something like that. You don't want it being that hard. So we're just draping the cheesecloth over our ghost form and making it look the way we want. Make sure it has ripples and ruffles in the right place, and we're going to set that to dry overnight. Now we're back, it's the next day. I've removed the tape from the bottom, and we are ready to do our next step, which is putting the eyes on our little ghoul. And I'm just using some acrylic paint. This is Craft Smart. I believe I got it at Michael's for less than $1. And I'm just using a small brush and whatever paint is in the cap. I like when there's no mess and no paint to pour out. And I'm just going to use my paintbrush to freehand some eyes on here. By all means, if you want to cut out tiny little eyes out of felt or fun foam and glue them on, please do so. It's whatever works for you. This is just my way of duping this. You could also use a Sharpie to draw them on if you didn't want to paint them on. Put the cloche back on. Make sure it snaps into place so it doesn't fall. Thank God it's plastic though. I'm just snapping it in. It doesn't affect the wire at all. And then we turn it on. And we've got our lit ghost cloche. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like staged on my mantle with a sign that I had made last year. So really cute, and all in all costs less than $3 to make compared to $35 regular price at Pottery Barn. Now our next project is the lit ghost wreath that is viral online. It sells for $90, and this is where I bought the cheesecloth for. I'm just using a wood wreath form that I purchased at my Dollarama. It was $2, and I'm using some chalk paint that I had on hand, giving it all a really good coat, making sure that it is covered because the cheesecloth is a little bit transparent, so you want to make sure that everything behind is also going to be white and match your overall decor. There's nothing worse than not having a well-prepared surface when you're working on a project and then it shows through at the end. Usually these projects can end up looking very high-end, and one little goof like forgetting to paint your wreath base would be the difference between having it look like a DIY and people not even being able to tell the difference between the DIY and the Pottery Barn version. So we're just making sure that it's painted. Again, I only did one coat of this. I'm using a Deco Art brand chalk paint in creamy white or snowy white, I believe is the color. And I'm just making sure that none of that wood is showing through. And it has holes in it, which is great, this form. I was able to go ahead and put string through it, and now I'm just securing that string with some hot glue, just so that it's all secured on there. And I'm using a thicker twine to do this so we have something to hang it with. And then I'm just going on and adding all of the styrofoam balls. Again, these styrofoam balls came from my dollar store. I believe there were 8 in a pack for $1.50. And I don't remember how many I ended up using. I believe I used 2 packs, so we'll say $3 on that. So far I believe we're up to about a $5 spend on this project. The cheesecloth also that we are going to be using was very inexpensive. I bought 2 packs at $1.50 a pack. So we're up to $8 so far. I'm just using some E6000 here on the back of our wreath now that all of our styrofoam balls are on. and we are going to affix a set of fairy lights. These I believe I purchased at the dollar store last year, and I had them on hand from another project. But if you were to buy them, they're about $3 a pack at Dollarama now. So I'm just hot gluing that on so that it is secure and it will last throughout the entire Halloween season. In full disclosure, this wreath, as cute as it is not staying at my house. It is ending up at my mom's house on her front door because she apparently does not have a Halloween wreath and really liked this one. So I was more than happy to give it to her. And I'm just going ahead here and running these lights through the form, and I'm making sure that I go around each of the styrofoam balls with them so that the light is evenly distributed throughout the entire project. And now that we're done stringing all the lights, we have just the tail end to take care of. And for that, we do want to hot glue it. Again, the hot glue will not have an effect on your lights whatsoever. So go ahead and use it to tack your lights down as you need to. And just hold it in place until it dries. It does dry pretty quickly. And we're ready to go ahead and make our ghosts now. So we're taking squares of the cheesecloth that we went ahead and cut. I would say they are roughly 6 by 6 inches. And then I'm just going to hot glue the top of the styrofoam ball to secure our cheesecloth down. And you want to make sure that when you're applying your cheesecloth sheets, I'm using air quotes there, I know you can't see them, but when you're applying your cheesecloth sheets, you want to make sure that they're all going in the same direction so that the ghosts all look like they're flying upwards. And I'm just going to repeat this throughout all of the styrofoam balls and then move on to the next step. So again, we're just going to continue putting our cheesecloth sheets on our styrofoam balls until they're all covered, and we're ready to move on to the next step, which is going to be painting the eyes on these cute little guys. Again, I'm just using some black craft paint. I bought this brand from my local Dollarama. It was $1.25 for the large bottle, and it's very comparative to what Michaels sells from their Craft Smart range. And I'm just going in and freehanding eyes. Again, just like with the ghost cloche before, if you are inclined to cut the eyes out of felt or fun foam, or you want to draw them on with a Sharpie, by all means, go ahead and do so. I do like using the paint on these though, because as you can see, it does streak down a little bit, so it makes the ghosts look a little bit spookier. And here's the wreath on my front door, and I know my mom's going to love it on hers. Our next project is the Lit Ghost Girl. Very pricey. She is a hybrid inspired by the Pottery Barn version and Michael's Disco Ghost. So I'm using a tomato cage that I've cut the bottom section off of to make it the right height, and I've hot glued a styrofoam ball to the top of that. And now here I am again fumbling with fairy lights, so let's skip ahead and have the fairy lights on there. This is a USB fairy light pack that is from, I want to say, Temu. I also have two different fabrics because this glittery sequiny pink number is a little see-through. So I do have a thicker pink fabric, not super thick because you can still see through it, but thick enough to get the job done. That's going to go underneath. So I'm just folding it to make sure that it's the right size for our form. And then from there, we are going to go ahead and drape it over and then use hot glue to secure it down. And this retails online for, I want to say, about $99 for the little girl version. And Michael's, I believe she's the same price for the glitter ghost of the same height. But regardless, we're making her for much less. This fabric was actually on liquidation for both different types of fabric at my fabric store. I got both pieces of fabric for $4 total. So the tomato cage is one that I had left over from gardening last year. I didn't use tomato cages this year in my garden. So this is just sitting around in the shed, not used. So again, mark math, it was free. The styrofoam ball was $1.50 from Dollarama. So right now we're sitting at, let's just say $6 in materials. And the lights I think were $2, so $8 so far in materials. The only other materials that I paid for was the ribbon that we're going to use to make the bow for her hair. So here I am draping the sequin fabric over the existing base, and we're just making sure that it falls properly, it looks good, and then we're going to go ahead and hot glue that in place as well, just to make sure that it doesn't slide anywhere. You could also use pins if you want to. Here I've got the eyes that I cut out of fun foam that has a sticky backing to it. You can cut the eyes however shape you like. I just sketched out two ovals with eyelashes on the back, cut them out, and for added security I'm going to hot glue those into place just to give her a little bit of character and a little bit of whimsy. We didn't want her looking too spooky. She is going to be living in the house of a friend of ours who loves all things pink and glittery. So I think she's going to be a welcome addition in her home. Just adjusting the camera here so you can see her face a bit better. So we've got one eye on. We're going to go ahead and repeat it by taking the backing off, adding hot glue, and then adding her other eye onto her face. And then after that, we're ready to make the bow. To make her bow, I basically bought a yard of glitter pink ribbon at the same fabric store that I was at. For me, it's called Fabricville, but you can find glitter ribbon pretty much anywhere. Even Michael's, Hobby Lobby, they all have it as well. So I'm just going to take a length of the pink glitter ribbon. It does have some strength, some structure to it. It's a coated ribbon, I believe is the right term. So I'm just checking the size to see how big I want it. And then we're going to cut that strip off. And then using hot glue, I'm just going to secure it all in one spot to make it look like it's a bow. So again, I'm just going to run that bead of hot glue down the middle. Please be careful, everybody. Don't burn your fingers. I basically have no fingerprints left because I'm very quick when I'm hot gluing to secure things, and I always end up burning myself. So please learn from my stupidity. So here we have the bow secured. I just want to make that little portion that goes in the middle to make it look like it was tied. And to do that, I'm just going to cut a thinner strip of the same ribbon. It was a little too wide for the look that we wanted. And then I'm going to use my hot glue gun, and from there also go ahead and secure it in the front. It doesn't really matter if you do it in the front or the back. You're covering the seam no matter what. I just like to do it reverse so that I'm making sure that that seam is well covered. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put some hot glue on those tabs, bring those over, and we've got a cute little bow that we are now going to hot glue to the side of her sheet. And from there, she is all dolled up, ready to spook anybody who comes into her house. And I am going to show you what it looks like. This is set up in our living room with a few candles, and I just plugged it into a USB adapter that goes into the wall. She is super duper cute, and I cannot wait to share her with my friend. All right, stepping aside from the ghost and into the skeletons, we do have this skeleton candle holder, that is at Pottery Barn, retailing for, I believe it was $40 each candlestick, which is crazy to me. So we are going to go ahead and dupe it. To do so, I've got some candlesticks that I purchased at Dollarama that were $3 each. And then I also have these skeleton serving spoons that were $1.75 for both of them together as a set, which is a really good deal. And from there, we are only going to really need some paint, which is spray paint, our hot glue gun, and our good friend E6000. Um, so we're going to use a combination of E6000 and hot glue to affix the um, skeletons to the candle holders. I just want to line everything up, and then I'm going to use a pencil to measure where I want to be putting my adhesives, just so that I don't have too much adhesive showing that shouldn't be showing. So again, we're going to be spray painting all of this. It doesn't really matter. You could use a Sharpie if you needed to, or another pen. I just had a pencil handy. So going in now, I'm going to go ahead and just remark where I put my original markings so that I can see where I'm going to be applying adhesive. And then again, we're going to add some E6000 for a long adhesion. And for quick adhesion, we're going to use some of our favorite hot glue. Again, this glue gun is my favorite and is linked down below in the description. We're making sure that we get E6000 on the base of the skeleton as well, just because it will be touching the base of the candle holder. So again, applying our hot glue all over the skeleton on top of where our E6000 is, and then we're just going to press it down on our candlestick and hold it into place. I am going to go ahead and use some painter's tape to hold this in place. And now, through the magic television, I've already taken it outside, given it 2 coats of a matte black Rust-Oleum spray paint. And now we want to bring out that silver inflection. And to do so, we are going to need some metallic wax finish. I got this at Michael's. It's their Craft Smart brand. It is very similar in essence to Rub and Buff. In Canada, we have a very hard time finding Rub and Buff. We can get on Amazon, but it is very expensive. And the difference is this, I find, is a little bit thicker than Rub and Buff. It's more of like a solid wax instead of something you can squeeze out of a tube. So I just use a popsicle stick or a coffee stirrer to put some on a paper plate. And I'm using a styrofoam brush to just apply it. And then we have a makeup sponge to remove the areas where it's heavy-handed or where we want to do some blending. So I'm just going in with my brush and basically highlighting the entire surface of um, the arm bones, I guess we want to call them, to really give it that metallic finish that the original piece from Pottery Barn has. It's like it was a black metal. It's had like the paint chipped away at it. It's a really interesting look. For sure. So you want to make sure that you're getting it everywhere, but again, I was a little heavy-handed here, so we're just going to use our makeup sponge to blend that down, just like when women are applying their makeup and are using this brush to blend it in, we're using it to blend in our paints and our metallic wax finishes. So we also want to make sure that we're getting the candle holder itself, not just the skeleton parts. So you do want to like make sure you're brushing over the top where the candle will go into the holder, as well as the actual cup portion that holds the candle. And you also want to make sure that you're getting that base of the candle holder. And we're just going in, and that's the great thing about this wax finish is you can blend it quite nicely. And that's it, we're done. We're just going to remove some of the excess here because I did go a little heavy again. It's very easy to do that. And this is our finished candle holder. I will show you what it looks like all set up in a short minute. The last project we have is our skeleton candy bowl, which retails at a whopping $199. I cannot justify spending $200 on any piece of home decor. No matter how cute it is, no matter how much I love Christmas, it just won't happen. So I went to the dollar store. I got a plastic bowl. I got this plastic hanging skeleton that is already painted black and silver. However, we are going to still be spray painting him and making him our own. I'm taking all of the arms and legs off because we are going to need them for the project. And then we're going to leave his head and his chest cavity all intact. I'm just laying everything out so it's left and right the way it was on the skeleton. And then we're going to go ahead with our hot glue and E6000 combination again to ensure that we have a long time bonding and adhesion, but also the benefit of quick setting hot glue. And we are also going to be using some painter's tape to hold everything in place while the glue dries, just because of the shape of the bowl and how we're going to be putting these straight pieces on. We want to make sure that everything stays in place as we are working on it. So again, taking my bowl, we're going to just line it up. I know you can't really see because of the way the camera is, but I'm basically lining it up so that the feet are touching just as they are in the inspiration piece. And we're going to E6000 and hot glue those together and then wrap some painter's tape around it. In doing so, we are ensuring that everything is going to be stuck together and not becoming off of the bowl in the years to come. So again, like I said, I'm just fixing everything together, and then we are going to use our painter's tape and secure it. And I'm sorry guys, I totally lost audio on most of these clips, so I'm doing voiceover, and voiceover is not something that I am really good at yet. So I do apologize if there's little delays and gaps, and you find me struggling for words. I do promise I will get better if you stay with me. So now that I've positioned the feet and they've been glued together, we're going to make sure they sit properly for the bowl. I'm going to line the bowl up with them and then take my handy pencil again and just indicate on the bowl where I need to be applying my hot glue and my E6000. And from there, we are going to go ahead and again make those markings and then apply our adhesives and our painter's tape to keep everything in place while we work on it. So you see here, I'm just taping on the arm. We've already affixed the skull and the chest cavity. And the nice thing is where the pelvis bone is on the skeleton, it actually acts as a stand, an extra stabilizer. So everything's been added on, and we've spray painted this bad boy in the same black matte spray paint that we used in our previous project. And now he's ready for his glow ups. So just moving the camera back a little bit and making some space on my work surface. We are going to be giving him some highlights and making him look just like the inspo piece. Again, using that Craft Smart wax metallic finish in silver. You can also do this in gold or bronze or any other metallic shade that you would like to do it in, whatever fits your home decor. I'm using silver just because it is what fits the inspiration piece. So again, using my sponge brush, I'm going on and coating everything with that wax finish, and it does dry quite quickly, so within a few minutes you can touch it and not have any transfer. I do want to say, while I'm thinking of it, obviously this bowl, having been spray painted, is not food safe. I would not put uncovered food in it. The way the inspiration piece had fruit, if you want to put fake fruit, fake pumpkins, that type of thing in there, by all means you could, but it definitely does make a really cool candy bowl, which is what it's going to end up being used for. In my family, my sister is taking this home with her. As soon as she saw the project that I wanted to do and she saw this bowl, she's like, I need that in my life. And also did not want to spend $200 on a bowl that will sit out for a month. So I'm making sure I hit the edges as well, just to make sure everything looks like it's metal that's been beat up. That's the whole purpose of this. It's to look like it's old weathered black iron, basically. So I'm making sure I get it on the bowl as well. And you can see where we're hitting it. We're hitting it where the bowl has a lot of like high spots in terms of its shape where it's rounding, and that would be the spots that would get the most wear and tear as well. So it's really making it look like it was dinged, and I got the inside as well. And there you have our skull candy bowl. Let's take a look at how it looks on my mantle along with the candlesticks. Thank you for joining me today. If you haven't already, please click the like button, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you know every time I post some brand new DIY content or lifestyle videos. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day and keep it spooky.